All right, hello everyone, and welcome to episode number 29 of Verdicts of the Ancient Kings, titled "Playing in Sand" or "Playing with Sand," depending on what title you are looking at. So far, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and alongside me once again is going to be Nico Sharp. Nico, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing not too shabby. Did a lot of work. Got to do some testing. Got to visit a certain office in Lake Forest last week. So things are looking good.
Nice. So that means we're gonna get spoilers today, right?
No, unfortunately, anything that I would like to spoil, nothing's been finalized. So I could make up cards
Ah,
and just say like, oh, they were rotated out. So you guys don't want anything from me right now.
okay. When you test, you get to see the art on some cards.
I get to see some of the art, but a lot of the times you'll be like, "Oh, that looks like really cool art," and then you go to like enhance it, and then it'll say error. You're like, "Oh, okay." So like it's a lot more like trolling because everything is like, "Oh, they have the low resolution image okay, but the high resolution image isn't done yet." Things like that. So it's still very, very, very much as Corey said that I think that he said it in a Friday announcement, and you can reference the Friday announcement. I can't because I don't know quite how this works. So what did he say in a Friday announcement about an upcoming set?
Oh gosh. Well, I read the last two, but I don't quite fully remember. But he did say the game was basically fully programmed in the client.
Yeah, so that's how it is. I will neither confirm that statement. I won't deny it either. So yeah, take read that into that as much as you would like, and well, art. I am frazzled today. Now that I think about it, I don't know why. I feel like I'm running around with my head cut off, playing a lot of limited. I think I climbed up from 110 last week up to 86 today. Still trying to climb up, and it sometimes you get a really really good run. You're like, yeah, that was great, and then other times you go 0 and 3. You're like, why am I even playing this game? So yeah.
Yeah, I went 1-3 today, but I got a dormant one in my opener, and on my one win, I got a daughter of the poet. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, see, like in games like that, like even though you lost, you won, kind of.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay,
Whereas I got, well, we'll talk about Clash later, but I did very well and had a good pool and still won nothing in Clash. But we can talk about that later.
all right. So let's go ahead and jump right into last week's puzzle results. Last week's puzzle was for PvP standard constructed, and this was one of your own puzzles. You being the mastermind, I'll let you go ahead and take it away.
Sure. So I am working off. Oh, I was working off memory. I just got the stream to load. The puzzle is basically you're playing a sapphire mono sapphire juggling deck, which is really popular right now with skittering cultivator and all that fun stuff.
Hmm.
So basically, your opponent just played a Horrors of War for two. He sacrifices two Dreadlings. He's going to have a Tribunal Magistrate and an Empress of Ice still in play. The puzzle begins for you when it's resolving. You have 0 out of 3 resources, 2 charges, 5 cards in hand, and 4 Sapphire Threshold. You have 3 exhausted troops in play, a Skittering Cultivator, a Warp Steel Shard Sworn, and a Depth Crawler. So the question is, when on your turn, what do you do? What do you sacrifice? What are your 3 cards left in hand, and what do you draw for the turn? The solution, of course, there's more than one answer because it's not finely tuned. But there were a few different solutions because basically we gave you 4 cards to play with. So once Horrors of War resolves, you're going to be left with one out of 1 resource on your turn, 2 charges, 3 cards in hand, and only one of the 2 troops you had in play. So the choice is keep Skittering Cultivator, and then one of the solutions was one of the cards in your hand is a shard. The other one is a Sapphire Infusion device, and then the last two are copycats. So with this particular solution, you play the Sapphire Infusion device with your one resource. That will allow you to trigger the charge power. So you utilize your copycats after that, and you target both of the Tribunal Magistrate and the Empress of Ice. So then you can use your charge power and the shard to exhaust the two troops in play, and then you'll have two 3/1 Dreadlings and your 1/4 Skittering Cultivator to be able to deal the lethal 7. Now, of course, the easiest solution is just have a shard and a frostbite and a copycat, and you just play the shard, frostbite your opponent, and copycat their Tribunal Magistrate, and that'll take care of the entire puzzle by itself. And then, of course, you can do the same with 2 chills. So, congrats to, I think we only had 4 people. So, again, a low turnout on the puzzle, but thanks to those of you that did take it away. I think we're going to try something a little different with the puzzle tonight to make it more accessible to a lot of different people. And please take us up on the easy accessibleness and try to win a prize.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure what to give away. I think I have over 150 to 200 scratch codes to give away still. And that's not even including 2016 convocation codes as the runner-up. So winners have been receiving about, I would say, 1,500 plat on average. Anywhere from 300 to 1,500 plat, depending on how you value sleeves and whatnot. So definitely try. If you can't go infinite with those crazy draft gauntlet runs constantly going 3-0, get a little bit of supplemented support, listening to our cast here and entering in the bi-weekly puzzles. So hats off to the winners, and the codes will get to you when they get to you. It's just really me trying to follow up and making sure to scratch off all the codes and figure out what I decide to give you guys this coming week. All right, so this past weekend, or this past Sunday, we had the latest Clash, Hex Clash being a weekly $1,000 sealed tournament. It has been extremely successful, I think, in the minds of everyone, getting around at least 200 players every week. And it just seems to be a nice event that people like to sit down and play. I don't know if it's how easily accessible it is for some of the other players out there, but it's nice to have an event. And Nico, how did you do in the Clash?
Well, judging by this slide, you can see that I placed 34th, which is kind of a morally depressing place.
You could have been 33rd, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit better than 33rd, but not much. So basically, like I was out of prizes by 2 places, and it would have been nice to get that sweet AAA hero fall, but just fell short. So I think Sugarcane figured out that there was like 10 people with the 6-3 record that were 32 plus, and then there were like 18 people that were 6-3 that were 32 minus. So 18 of those 6-3s didn't get anything, and 10 of them were very happy at the end of the day.
Yeah. All right. So how did this deck do? And I see the Pyre Smoke Kabbalist. Is that the 4/1 that gets Swift Strike and charges?
Yeah, when you use your charge power, and every time another troop dies, you gain a charge. All right. So, yeah, this deck was actually really awesome. And I think I shared some other slides later on that we'll talk about that are the 3 decks I lost to, and I'll talk about why that happened for each one as well. But there's a lot of things going on with this deck. First of all, I actually had 5 playable rares.
Really?
So
okay.
That's pretty incredible for a sealed pool. I played Hope on Horizon, Fierce Justicar, Elder of Lost Ages, which is pretty awesome, Pyre Smoke Kabbalist, and Warton General, all playable rares, all very good. And the only rare plus I didn't play was an Arachnomicon, just because I figured it wasn't going to generate enough valuable cards for me to actually put on the table because a lot of spiders are like blood or sapphire themed.
Mm-hmm.
But so looking at this pool, because I had the Wartime General, of course, I wanted to prioritize as many Ardent troops as possible because I know of how explosively strong he can be early on. Of course, he was met with a lot of removal when I did get chances to play him, but there were a few times I was able to go off with him. But that's why I'm playing a lot of Ardent troops primarily, but I am trying to splash in the best cards I have of each. So, like, there is a Duskwing Priest in there. There is a Rust Bucket Distractor and the Pyro-Smoke Kabbalist that I've splashed in there to kind of get a little bit of extra value. So the deck played really well. I often would sideboard out my Crackling Magma and my, what was the other card? Rust Bucket Distractor, usually for a Take Flight, which is a +2/+2 flying buff, and Adamanthian Flyer guy that is a 3/3 for 5 that gets Swift Strike when it gets Valor. As there was just a lot of Ada in the field. Ada is extremely popular and limited, so I kind of knew that going in. So those were nice sideboard choices for me as the matches progressed based on who I was playing. But anyway, the deck did well. I lost to some crazy stuff, and we will talk about that in a second. But basically, it's just nice to get a pool that has a little bit of removal and then a lot of strong troops. And if you have a nice early game, that usually means you can power through to win it in the mid to late game.
All right, so you're just trying to throw down threats using the True Heart Skirmishers to get a little bit of card advantage. Pyro-Smoke Kabbalist also really strong if you can get more 1/1s out on the field in a mirror match. By sacking your 2 Phantoms, you end up getting 2 extra charges that turn around being get you that much closer to your Phantoms again. So it looks like overall looks really, really strong. I personally like the Pyro-Smoke Kabbalist with the Dreadling generation for each different race that underworld race you have, if you could pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice if my pool wasn't so heavy in Diamond 2 for having strong bombs. Because, yeah, the Dreadling tech is amazing with the Pyro-Smoke, but also I don't want to build around anyone rare or uncommon. I have to kind of go with the best overview of all parts, so that's why I just had to go Diamond instead.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Without looking at the rest of the pool, there's no real way. But like I've seen that Kabbalist go off on me and go off for me as well. So that's just that crazy where I'm like, oh, it's so good sometimes. And I'm surprised you didn't have an arena regular. Like that's all you need sometimes. You're like, oh.
One of the really cool things I found playing this too is a combo I never thought of before, which is Hope on the Horizon into a True Heart Skirmisher, which provides me with extra card draw every turn. Because his ability says, if this is in your hand at the end of the turn, discard it. Well, the end of the turn trigger already triggers when it comes back into play, so you get to keep that card.
Oh, wow, very nice.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that interaction, so very, very fun. And yeah, so just something to be mindful of if you ever end up with a pool similar to this one.
Very nice. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the decks you lost. Currently looking at Meskinadis's deck. It looks like a crazy Diamond Sapphire deck. You already looking at all of the one drop or essentially one drop conscripts. Mooncall Ceremony, extremely powerful. Essentially opening up you into a 2-drop. Windborn Ascension. I don't know how many times I've had to deal with a Prince Zakaz off of a Windborn Ascension, but having a flight, lethal, swift strike, diligence gets to play the top card of your opponent's deck can also be very, very deadly. And overall, the only thing that's really missing from this deck is the Diligence 2/4 flyer that summons more birds. Otherwise, this deck looks absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts to play against, and kind of the story of the tournament for me is I had a great deck, I had the upper hand, but the cards that beat me most of the time were conscript cards.
Hmm.
So it's unfortunately to be on that side of the equation. I'm usually really pro conscript, and I still am. It's just it sucks to get beat by it when you have a solid deck and you're playing towards your outs and just get beat by an advantage that would have otherwise never been there. So Windborn Ascension, I think got him a proverbial hair guy, the 5/5 that makes a Dreadling. And then he used his Storm Rider to revert it when it was at 1/1. So he got like huge value out of that. If that was a flying, like just punch your face card. And he got even better. I think he got like a oh man, he got something even better in the air for 3 the first time he played it. But anyway, when I saw this guy play this deck and the cards that he was spitting out, I'm like, there's no way that this guy's not going to get top 8. Well, it turns out he didn't, but I don't know what his matches looked like later. One of the key plays he made against me is after I played a Hope on the Horizon and targeted I think it was my Elder of Lost Ages to revert it to get its one shot back.
Hmm.
He had Diamond's Favor in his hand, and he just took out my Hope on Horizon, got a 2-for-1. I
Oh,
was
so
like, oh my gosh, no.
he made you
So
sacrifice it. Oh, that actually
yeah,
lines up to my question later on. So I have an extra slide for you at the end of this.
okay, yeah. And then like similar thing to that is like when I had something in play that was going to generate a ton of value for me, and he like immediately Decree of Banishing it like the turn after I attack with it, and he just hit me with removal like right when he needed to, and I wasn't drawing mine when I needed it. So
Hmm.
that's another big thing about like playing in these kind of events. Like you never know like the cards you're going to draw and if you're going to draw them in the right order. If you don't get shard screwed or flooded as well. So lots of RNG, but he had a very solid deck.
Yeah, it definitely looks that way. Moving right along, so far I'm not surprised by the decks that you've lost to. They seem very, very solid. And moving along, we go into Mind, who is running an Ada Apparitionist deck that is Diamond Ruby. It seems like it is just extremely fast out of the gate. Boisterous Ballad and Mooncall Ceremony, two very, very strong conscript cards at 1. The only thing that is more scary than a boisterous a llama herder is a llama herder with speed is I think William Rowan with speed. You didn't hit any of those, did you?
No, but what he did hit, and then, so this was another one that primarily beat me by conscript. His very first Mooncall Ceremony hit a 3-cost troop that's a 3/2 Coyote that has quick speed. Oh, I was not expecting that at all. So I lost what would have later been probably my perfect card to have in play, which was a 1/1 Swift Strike guy, the like little brave guy,
Mm-hmm.
Kyle, that gets +1/+1 when you have 3 diamond in play.
Mm-hmm.
I think I opened with like 3 diamond, and I swung in on 2, and then he played that, and I just totally got killed by it. And then if you look at his deck, like look at all the removal he has. He has Fire in a Hole. He has 2 Chastises. He has 2 Pyre Strikes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like really solid removal and a cremate. And then the second time he played Mooncall Ceremony and he got a Justicar and made it into an 8/8. Um,
Oh.
One of the other things in the first game you see he also has a Trial of Totems. Well, he hit a Trial of Totem into a oh my gosh, what was it? It was like something ridiculously big. Turned into like a 6/6 that had the Ardent Gem on it, and he just totally crushed me with it. Anyway, his deck was pretty nuts. He had some really good conscript effects and some really strong removal, and I think he placed pretty well. I'd have to go back and look, but solid deck, and no doubt in my mind, I think no matter how I played it, as long as he got decent conscript effects, I was gonna lose.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sometimes how it is. I mean, those one drops, being able to just, it's like playing partial of the cost. That Mooncall Ceremony is spreading out the cost as well. The Pyro Strikes, and it basically in limited. There's two ways that you can play it. You can play, from what I understand or from what I've seen in this particular pool, you can play the bread style, which is bombs, removals. In that order, was it bombs, removals, efficient, adds, and duds? And everything that I'm looking at here is the bomb here is obviously the pulverizer. Maybe the boisterous ballad, the Mooncall ceremonies, any of the conscripts could be bombs. It's a little bit of a coin flip as always, but with so much removal, you don't have to pick and choose your threats all that much. And if you have a little bit of a fast opening, say a boisterous ballad into a 2-drop with speed, you can constantly protect it with those chastise, with the pyro strikes, with the bring to justice, and or even the Grimskull tactician to exhaust a troop early on. And yeah, this is just one of those solid decks that seems to, I would think, draw consistently well.
Yeah, and if you look at it, I think I just counted. He only had 9 troops in there, outside of conscript effects. I mean, if you count the conscript effects and the alarm-o-matic, then he has 13, I think. But yeah, only 9 troops.
Mm-hmm.
But with all that solid removal, and then also the kind of relying on the powerful conscript effects, he was able to just crush a lot of his opponents. And I think we met when I was maybe already at 4 or 5 wins. Mm-hmm. So that, I think it was like 4-1 or 4, maybe 5-1 at that point. So he was doing pretty well with just that low amount of troops.
Yeah, I generally don't like to go below 13, but with conscripts and the alarm-o-matic being what it is, alarm-o-matic essentially is a 4-2 troop with speed and flight if you're running diamond. That's how I view that alarm-o-matic, because you just have the assault bot, you give it the flight gem, and on turn 4 you transform it and it's a 4-2, and since it started in play, it's ready to go and can deal a lot of damage as well. So it's that threat that you have to worry about, and there isn't that much quick removal normally, but I say that when this player has a fire in the hole and 2 pyro strikes, so yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Difficult to deal with. Moving right along. Oh, I just gotta tell a story based on the cards that I see here. I was playing today in limited, and I had alarm-o-matic. He on the turn, he was just like, I want to make him pay 4 more resources for his assault bot. So he Storm Rider exhausted my alarm-o-matic. I'm like, okay. The next turn I played From the Ashes. So the alarm-o-matic stays on the table because it's not a troop. I take his commander prompt and proceed to take the game away from him.
That's pretty good. Yeah, that's From the Ashes, man. I'm sure you made him flip his virtual table.
Yeah, you can't, like, I was playing the Takahiro, and the whole entire deck was meant to get to From the Ashes, because none of my pool was that good, but I knew if I could draw to what I needed and play that card, it's like a 75-80% chance win when you play that card. If you set it up well, you're sacrificing your troops, and even you're like, oh, I'm going to sacrifice my semi-value troop because he's going to die anyway, draw an additional card and play From the Ashes. And yeah, so if that happens to you, I'm sorry, but you gotta play to win, right?
Yep, you do.
All right, moving right along. It's another Diamond Sapphire, and let me take a look at this real fast. It looks like, okay, it's another Ada. There seems to be a little bit all over the place to me. There's a lot of 2-drops. The Leyline Purifier. This deck seems to want to go late and then just use a whole bunch of evasion to finish off your opponent. Mirror, obviously being the bomb here, being able to pick the 2 strongest cards. Phoenix Guard Lancer, high value. Adamantium Cavalry. What is that? It's the 5-drop 3/3 flyer. Yep.
Yeah, 5 cost 3/3 flyer.
Yeah. So it seems. It seems like there isn't that much removal, so I'm wondering. Tell me how your battles went here, because I only see the Wallbuster, Freebooter is kind of a stun. There's the Blind Side for a combat trick. The Broodnet is really weak. He's kind of reaching there. Shackling Strands, obviously really strong, and the Holy Reprisal.
Yeah, so there's a few things going on in these matches. First, this is the first time in most of my matches that I actually got shard screwed, and it really didn't help, especially because in both of our games, he was able to play his Webborn Apostate on turn 2. So when you're playing Ada against Ada and someone does that to you and you're not playing Sapphire and have the same, it really hurts because they jump basically 2 turns ahead of you on when they can get out their phantoms, and that really hurts. And so to top that off, like I had shard screw problems. He also had a crazy play on game 1 where I should have probably won, but he mirrored his board state and got like a pumped up Phoenix Guard Lancer and a pumped up Jet Cadet. So I couldn't keep up with the pressure. And one of the other things is when I was going to do an all-in that could have net me the game, he had his Holy Reprisal in hand and like just totally swung it in his favor. So just a lot of Anoculus cards, like not very high value, but some really great stuff if you hit it at the right timing. And he was just hitting it at the right timing. Like he got his Blessed Scout to create like, I don't know, maybe 8 1-cost troops for him one game. And that was just brutal. And like he got Broodnet on the perfect target. He got Shackling Strands on the perfect target. So you have the right cards at the right time, and sometimes it just comes down to that. And, also getting screwed doesn't hurt. But if you look at his deck, it's not really fast. It's a slow deck with no real huge bombs. But with the amount of control and a little bit of value creation the deck can make, he's able to kind of push through in that late game where other decks might not be able to.
Yeah, I definitely see that here. I'm just looking at this like there's got to be a story in how the games went where Cloudbounder was able to come into play, exhaust the Blessed Scout on turn 3. The next turn he gets some crazy one drop that allows you to exhaust like your opposing units, and he does that twice and is all of a sudden able to lock down your board. So sometimes the right card at the right time is better than a bomb, and it sounds like that was the case here.
Yeah, like I think he even prevented me from killing his Blessed Scout with Shroud or something, and got more value out of it. So just really what got him the win. And then also the fact that I was getting a little bit of shard screw, and he was beating me to the Phantoms, where I think he stabilized on 1 health in one of our games, and he stabilized on 3 health in another one. I just couldn't push through.
All right. So, it seems like some tough losses. 34th place. I'm sure you were a little salty, but that's all right. And let's go ahead and move on to, something that has probably nothing to do with the game, but at the same time has a lot of similarities in terms of sandboxing and the right and wrong ways to play sandbox games. Now, currently out there, and this was something that I came across and I realized was the majority of games out there that you play, there is a definitive right and wrong way to play a lot of the games. StarCraft, there is a definitive right and wrong way. A lot of the RPGs out there, a lot of Diablo, there's a proper way to min-max, and it's almost like you have to find the best way to play the game. Otherwise, you're playing it wrong. And playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is an absolutely great game. It's an open sandbox game. It puts you in the middle of the world and it just says, go. You have to do these 4 things at the very beginning, but other than that, go and explore, try crazy things, and have fun. And I think a game like Breath of the Wild made me realize how much fun it is to just experiment, and also made me realize one of the reasons why I like Hex so much. Hex is essentially a sandbox game. Yes, there is a definitive right and wrong, but that's only a definitive right and wrong in terms of the meta. It's not right and wrong in terms of how you want to approach the game and play the game. If you want a more control style, the cards you can play towards that particular route. If you want to play aggro, you can play towards that route, but it's really up to the community to decide what type of game is really, really good out there. And I think it's just kind of been a breath of fresh air. Growing up as a kid, I remember playing games like Civilization 1, 2, and 3, where I'd constantly save my games, and I would purposely like go back to old saves to be like, no, I think I played that wrong, and this need to be absolutely perfect. And in a game like Hex and a game like Zelda, sometimes you can't be perfect. Sometimes you just need to make assumptions and try things out. And I think that's why I like Hex and I like Zelda as my 2 top games that I'm playing right now. What are your thoughts on, I guess, sandbox and the right way and wrong way to play games?
Well, I mean, I think first and foremost, if you're going to make any type of game, or if you're going to enjoy it, when you're playing any type of game, is you want to have an experience that's unique, and you want to have an experience that makes you feel like you're not constrained. Like, non-linear games are really fun to play. When you force kind of a linear path for your games, if the story's good enough, then that's okay. But if the story's not good and you're forcing a linear path, then you're going to quickly turn people off from whatever it is that they're playing. So I think, I've watched a lot of Zelda on Twitch, and I've seen really cool things like with how you can take control of a block and like beat it up before you actually send it flying. Mm-hmm. And then you can like knock everyone off the screen, like just crazy things like that you can do in a game. And finding ways to be creative that someone else might not have thought of, or just makes you kind of humor at what you figured out on your own, is what makes games really enjoyable. And creating a space where there's enough experimentation that you can do those sort of things is really important, I would say, to just having a game that just has that lasting appeal. So, and that's something that Hex has, with equipment, with PvE, with mercenaries, with being able to build your deck in like any sort of way you want to kind of come up with what you think might beat or counter the meta. Mm-hmm. Is really rewarding and fun experience. So
yeah, I totally agree. I think the best way that we can, like, or the best examples of this is when we're all given the cards from a new set, and during that first week, like those first 5 days where everyone is just throwing cards together, like we all see the same 270 cards or however big the set is, and we all have experience playing these games. And some may be a couple of years, some may be like decades, but we all initially craft something that is truly unique and different and unique to you, based on, oh, you saw this and you decided to take this particular deck and run with it. In Legend of Zelda, it's the same way, where I'm playing a game and I'm playing it in the same room as a friend, and I'll look up at his screen, I'm like, You're doing that? Like, I didn't know you could do that to beat this guy. And then he looks at my screen and he's like, I didn't know you could do that to do this, or why aren't you doing this? And I think that just goes into proper game design, where there isn't one solution, and only one deck that is the best deck out there. And I really like the current meta right now, where it seems like there's almost 5 to 7 really strong decks that you kind of have to be aware of, and you kind of have to understand the matchup. In my experience, back when in other TCGs, there's generally like 3 tier 1 decks, but right now it seems like there's so many tier 1 decks, and you can't really say one's the best, because like, the seven sided star, where it has good matchups here but it has bad matchups here, and you can't say that there's going to be a definitive king of the hill winner. It's almost, what do you think people are going to bring to the next Cosmic Crown Showdown, which is going to be coming up in about 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's interesting to see a game develop like this and still have enough. It feels like it has enough versatility that you're not kind of forced into any one box. And we might not have this great meta. I mean, it's at 7 launches, who knows? But it's nice to see it happening now. And Hex is not just PvP, so. Just in terms of right and wrong way to do sandbox games, we do have other avenues to enjoy the game, but obviously the one that most people come to a TCG for is the PvP side. But I'd love to see Hex also maybe learn some things from other games in the market while they're developing the PvE content. And I'm sure the guys that are working there often think about this kind of stuff too, is how can we make the game more enjoyable for the PvE sandbox experience, and what can we implement that will be easy enough for us to do that the community will kind of take with open arms and enjoy it even more than we enjoyed building it. So I'm interested to see what PvE will bring as it continues to develop, and then also it is nice to see how diverse the meta is in PvP as well.
Yeah, I know that there is PvE content coming. I'm not going to even say soon. I'm just going to say I know that there is PvE content coming. But when I said, so what's the story going to be like, and he looked at me just like, why do you expect a story? And so I was just like, huh. Are we going to get something that's not story driven in PvE? And then he just looked at me and was just like, okay, next question. So like, that's as much as I know there. I guess that's a spoiler of a vague conversation, and we'll see what happens there. But yeah. All right, moving right along. I was looking at some of the slides today, and I got really, really confused. I probably should choose a different card than Leyline Purifier in this particular situation, but I needed something that destroyed a constant. So this was a rules question that I was wondering. Your opponent has a Decree of Banishing in play. You need to remove your opponent's bomb. So you play a Mirror Mirror, and you copy your opponent's Decree of Banishing. Let's say your opponent then makes you plays a Diamond's Favor, not the Leyline Purifier. If you sacrifice your Decree of Banishing, does it put both troops in play? Because the Mirror Mirror is a copy of the card, and it's supposed to retain all knowledge of it, correct? Like, if there's been any modified buffs to it. Do you catch what I'm saying?
Wait, so asking if they played Diamond's Favor and you had a Decree of Banishing in play that targeted one of their troops?
Yeah, but at the same time, the Mirror Mirror is you copied from your opponent.
Oh. So you're saying that if your decree was destroyed, would both troops come back into play?
Because does it remember? Because normally mirror, like, the copy of the card is supposed to retain all knowledge of the card. It's an actual copy.
I have a feeling that it doesn't. but it probably should. I don't know. It's really weird because, like, yeah, you're right. It should probably retain the knowledge.
So that's what I was just like. I don't know. I'll put this rules question here. Yeah, Leyline Purifier, ignore it. Your opponent makes you sacrifice the Decree of Banishing. What happens when you sacrifice it, and what should happen when you sacrifice it?
Hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's something for Hexahedron maybe to answer.
All right, so yeah, we'll pass that to Hexahedron. If I don't know, we'll also put this out to you guys. The puzzle, there is no reason why you guys should not be entering the puzzle for this particular week. This week's particular puzzle is how can I best use this, or what are 20 good cards in the standard that can use Hope on the Horizon, the rare that Nico so graciously used in the Clash to, well, sometimes destroy his own troops on accident.
And you know what's funny is that same scenario that you were looking at, the Decree of Banishing with the Mirror Mirror, I was going to use a scenario from that game because he did play Mirror Mirror while Decree of Banishing was in play. And I also had Hope of Horizon in play. So I was trying to think of a puzzle that would incorporate Hope on the Horizon, Mirror Mirror, and Decree of Banishing. But I just couldn't come up with something solid enough in time. So maybe next week or week after next.
Yeah, a week after next, as we're currently bi-weekly until, well, spoiler season is on us, as we want to get in some of our hex hours as well. So, anyways, name 20 cards in the standard that makes great use of this card. Give us your top 3 and why. Send everything to Nico Sharp at gmail.com. If you think you know the answer to the rules question here, why it shouldn't return both troops, let us know as well. And yeah, definitely contact us and let us know. I'm waiting for some card in the next set that's going to like crazy break or make Hope on the Horizon too good. Something like deploy, draw 3 cards, Death Cry, discard 3 cards. But Hope on
you know what Corey did mention on the 2 Turns Ahead podcast with 5 Shards is that Escalation is coming back with set 7. So pretty excited about that.
Yes, Escalation is coming back, and I can't say anything else. All right, I can't say it. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can't say anything, but do you know if it's more than 1 card of each color? I guess you can't say that much, huh?
I don't think I could.
Too much away.
I can. What can I say? I don't know. I don't even know what I can say.
In set 1, there was only 1 in each color, and it was rare.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if they keep that same trend because Escalation, at least for set 1, was extremely powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea if it'll be as powerful in 7, but I guess you could imagine any card that's going to double up every time you play it or get extra every time you play it is going to be very powerful.
Yeah, I'd assume that Escalation, it is going to be powerful. We'll have to see how it's going to be used. I don't know.
Please tell me there's no Dreadling Escalation. I really don't want Dreadling Escalation.
I believe Dreadlings were something unique to set. Dreadlings and Valors, I believe, is unique to the current block. Just like Prophecy and some of the other things, like they haven't rolled over. So I think that was a block mechanic, definitely.
Okay, good. Yeah, maybe it'll be more casual in 7-8, like Lemonade and Fruit Punch or something. Who knows? But not Dreadlings and Valor.
Well, Dreadlings in limited, it's just like, hey, I have 24 life, but I could be dead because my opponent has 7 resources, 7 charges, and 6 troops in his crypt.
Yeah, right. They're playing Theros, and one of the troops already has a scrounge trigger in the crypt, and they have 2 swap, so I'm gonna die.
Yeah, you're like, oh, like, yeah, like, oh, the Dread Apprentice, he's gonna play it, sack it, play it again, 9 dreadlings. He's gonna exhaust his tactician, and he's gonna, give everything +1/+1. And he also happens to have, he threw in the third shard, and all Shroomkins get +2 attack when this guy attacks, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
just
it's been there.
yeah. I think I had someone played 2 wild favors on me, and then the +1/+1, and had the that
Charge.
5/3. Uh, yeah,
Oh, the potent puff guy.
yeah, the
Puff
potent
ball.
puff guy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
All right. We all have horror stories. Let us know. I don't know. Do you like talking about spiders more or dreadlings more?
Hmm.
Pick your poison.
That's a good question. I actually really like dreadlings from a PvE perspective. I think I like dreadlings more than spiders. So I guess I'm not that big of a hater of set 5/6 block as compared to the 3/4 block of spider hell.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, like, can I choose to pass my draw, please, please?
Yeah, I guess spider hell was a little bit worse. To each their own. The gems are different at that time too, so there's a lot of different things going on, like spell shield hierophants and crocosaurs and all that good stuff.
Yeah, Crocosaur's talking about, hope on the horizon. Good Crocosaur. If it doesn't make it into your top three, I really want to see your top three.
Oh yeah, and that is standard. Yeah, good point.
All right. Well, from everyone at Cornerstone Guild and from me and Nico, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys
Thanks,
enjoyed it.
guys. See you next time.